Hey guys, so we're going to start out with a review question. So you should be getting a pop-up box now to answer this question. Okay, so if you went ahead and answered it, the first thing you should be looking for are what are our units. Okay, so a car can travel 130 miles on 10 gallons of gas. How far can it travel on 13 gallons of gas? So our two units are miles and gallons. So if we set up the first ratio with that method, we have to set up the second ratio with that method. Okay, so now it's just a matter of just inserting the numbers. So in the first ratio, we have 130 miles, and it takes 10 gallons of gas to do that, and that's equal to, well, we don't know how many miles 13 gallons of gas would take us. Okay, so once you get it set up, it's pretty easy from here. We're going to cross multiply, and we'll get 10x equals 13 times 130, and 13 times 130 is 1,690, and that equals 10x. Okay, now we'll divide both sides by 10. And we get x equals 169 miles. Okay, it's always important to make sure that you label your answer so you can go back and check to make sure that things make sense, and they do. If 130 miles takes 10 gallons of gas, it's reasonable that 169 miles will take 13 gallons of gas. Okay? All right, so now we're going to begin talking about converting fractions and decimals into percents. Okay, and some of the more common ones, as you can see here, are a half, which can be written as a fraction as 1/2, or as a decimal as 5/10, or as a percentage it would be 50%. And that's fairly common, and I'm pretty sure that most of us know that one already. And the same thing for the one underneath, a quarter. As a fraction, a quarter is 1/4, and as a decimal, it is 25 hundredths, and then as a percent, it is 25%. Okay? So it's just a little graphic so that we can illustrate how percents and decimals and fractions relate to each other. All right, so this is something that you're going to want to add to your math dictionary in the procedures section, how to convert from a decimal to a percent. Okay, so to convert from a decimal to a percent, we need to multiply by 100 and then add a percent sign. So you probably want to stop this video now or pause it so you can add this to your math dictionary. But I'm going to keep talking. So the easiest way to multiply by 100 is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. And as you can see here, to convert 125 thousandths to a percent, we're going to take this decimal point and we're going to move it 2 places to the right. And now we have 12.5%. Okay, another example would be if we had 18 hundredths. We're going to take that decimal point, we're going to move it 2 places to the right. So as a percent, it will be 18%. Okay, now to go from a fraction to a percentage, we really need to take an intermediate step. We need to do something in between. It's often very difficult to go from a fraction directly to a percentage. Usually we need to convert the fraction to a decimal first. And remember, when we're converting a fraction to a decimal, we just divide the top number by the bottom number, divide the numerator by the denominator. So in this case, we're converting 3/8 to a percentage. First, we divide 3 by 8, and we get 375 thousandths. And then we follow the previous step. We multiply by 100 and add the percent sign. So if we had something like 5/8, we would do 5 divided by 8, which equals 625 thousandths, excuse me. And now to convert this to a decimal, we just move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and add the equal sign. So this is 62.5%. Okay? This is something else that you should add to your math dictionary under the procedures section. We will be looking for it the next collection. Okay, to go from a percent to a decimal, it's the other way now. Instead of multiplying by 100, we're going to divide by 100. And the easiest way to divide by 100 is to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So if we take their example here at 75%, they took the decimal point that we don't see, it would be right there, and we go 1, 2. So 75% equals 75 hundredths. Okay, if we had something like 180%, we would do the same thing. Take the decimal point, move it 2 places to the left, and now we have 1.8. Notice that when I write it after dividing by 100, I no longer write the percent sign. Once you divide it by 100, you should no longer write the percent sign. Okay? And again, this is something that should be in your dictionary under the procedure section. Okay, and to go from a decimal to a fraction, we spoke about this, but I threw this in here anyway, just in case you needed it. This should, if you need it, it should be in your dictionary as well. To convert a decimal to a fraction, okay, first we're going to write the decimal over the number 1. So in this case, they use 75 hundredths. They put it over 1. Okay, and then they multiply the bottom and the top for every number after the decimal point. So in this case, we can see that there are 2 numbers after the decimal point. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 10 twice. Well, when we multiply it by 10 twice, 10 times 10 is 100. So we're going to multiply the top by 100 and the bottom by 100. Okay, and in this case, we get 75 over 100. We can reduce that, and then we come down to 3/4. Okay, here's a chart of the common percents and common decimals and common fractions that we use. You will see these often, so this is a good thing that you want to memorize or you want to pretty much have committed to memory. This is something that I would go ahead and have committed to memory. It will make your life dealing with these problems a lot easier if you know off the top of your head that 2/10 is 1/5 and that's 20%, or that 8/10 is 4/5 and that's 80%. It will, trust me, it will make your life easier. So like I said, at any point in time, you could pause the video if you want to copy something. Okay. So you should be getting a pop-up box now to convert the following 2% and round to the nearest hundredth. So you should be getting a pop-up box now. Okay, and if you went ahead and did that, let's go ahead and check your work. So 36 hundredths, if we're going to convert this to a percent, we need to multiply by 100. So we move the decimal point 2 places. So it becomes 36%. Okay, 1/3, if we convert this to a decimal first, we get 33 hundredths. Okay, and then we multiply that by 100, and we get 33%. Okay, 5 hundredths. We have to be careful here. This is a very common mistake people make. We're just going to multiply this by 100, and we get 5%, okay? Sometimes people often answer that incorrectly as 50%. It's not, it's 5%. Okay, 7/12. If we convert this to a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth, it would be 58 hundredths. Okay, and if we convert this to a percent, it's just multiply by 100 or move the decimal point twice, and we get 58%. Okay, number 5, 3/11. We do 3 divided by 11, and we get 27 hundredths as our decimal. Multiply this by 100, and you get 27%. Okay, 14/29 as a decimal, rounded to the nearest hundredth, will be 48 hundredths. Multiply this by 100, and you get 48%. Okay, one more. So now we're going to convert the following to decimals. You should be getting a pop-up box now. Okay, so if you went ahead and answered, let's go ahead and check your work. So 50% to convert it to a decimal, we're going to divide by 100. Move the decimal point over left 2 times. So this is 5/10, or 50 hundredths, okay? You don't need to put that 0 in there because 50 hundredths is 5/10. Okay, number 2, same thing, we're going to divide by 100, so now this becomes 373 thousandths. That first number is a 3. Sorry about that. Okay, so 5%, and again, this is one where students often make a mistake because there's no 0 in front of that 5, so they'll often incorrectly say that 5% is 5/10, but it's not. So we go 1, 2 to the left, and we have an empty cup, and as always, when you have an empty cup, you fill it with a 0. So it is 5 hundredths, okay? Notice that there's a difference between this one and this one. Students often confuse the two and make a mistake about that. Okay, for number 4, we're going to shift the decimal point to the left twice, and we get 1.25. It's okay that you have a whole number out front. It happens sometimes when you have percents that are greater than 100. Okay, 68%. We're going to move the decimal point left twice, and that's going to equal 68 hundredths. Okay, and finally, the last one, 6.8%, we have to be very careful with. We move the decimal point that's over here now twice, and once again, we have an empty cup, and we need to fill that empty cup with a 0. So 6.8% is 68 thousandths. Okay, don't forget to add the necessary things to the procedure section of your dictionary, and make sure you bring those proportion papers back to class with you tomorrow with any questions you had from it. All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.